chapter 12, Mishnah 5. This Mishnah discusses a two-story house that is in the process of being built. The two ceilings, one for the lower floor and one for the upper floor, are not finished. The beams that extend from one wall to the other, which will eventually support the ceilings, are in place, but they are not yet covered with boards and plaster. Each of these beams is at least a tefach wide, so each one forms an ohel over the space below it. If the beams of the lower and upper floors of a two-story house do not have boards and plaster on them, and these beams are aligned exactly one above the other, the law is as follows. If there is tuma, such as a piece of corpse, beneath one of the lower beams, a utensil that is also beneath that beam becomes tame, because the beam forms an ohel over it and the piece of corpse. If there is a piece of corpse in the space between a lower beam and the corresponding upper beam, a utensil that is also in the space between these two beams becomes tame, because the upper beam forms an ohel over it and the piece of corpse. If there is a piece of corpse above one of the upper beams, the space directly opposite it, i.e. above it, even up to the sky, becomes tame. For since the piece of corpse is not covered by a beam, its tuma travels directly upward, contaminating any utensils in its path. Another case involving a two-story house whose two ceilings are not complete. If the upper beams correspond to the spaces between the lower beams, that is, each upper beam is not above a lower beam, but above the space between two adjacent lower beams, and there is tuma underneath any one of the beams, whether an upper or a lower beam, a utensil beneath any of the beams becomes tame, because all the beams together are viewed as one continuous ohel without any gaps. The tuma spreads throughout the space beneath all the beams, making any utensils there tame. However, if there is a piece of corpse above any of the beams, even a lower one, it is above the ohel. Thus, the space opposite, i.e. above it, even to the sky, is tame, because there is nothing above the tuma that would prevent it from rising.